Five, four, three, two, one. I'm Angela Morabito with Campus Reform, and you're watching Five Big Questions. Today, I'm joined by David McGrath, who is a veteran of the War on Terror, an author, a journalist, a digital forensics professional, and now also a college student. David is here to answer five big questions about what it's like to be a student veteran. David, thank you for your service to our country and for being here today.
Really my pleasure. Thank you so much, dear.
So tell us, what was your path like into the military?
So I grew up with a father who had many flaws, but one of his good things about him was that he was a Vietnam era child. And I often got the sense as a kid that my father was really upset about the fact that he could never join the military because he had a physical thing that he couldn't get in with. And he always impressed upon me that that the United States was the greatest country to ever exist. And the chances of me being born in the United States were so slim that I should act like I grew up and was born in the greatest country in the world. And I should live my life like I hit the lottery every day. And that was always a guiding light of my younger life. I could have been born in Kenya. I could have been born in a Sunni tribesman in Afghanistan. And the fact that I wasn't, I should take that and run with it. So he always impressed upon me that the lies of the late 1960s and 1970s against Vietnam veterans was one of the most despicable things that he ever had to see. My grandfather lost an eye in Da Nang. My two great-grandfathers were both World War II veterans who were war-injured veterans. So I came from a family of, hey, you love your country, you stand for your flag, you respect people in uniform. If a policeman tells you to do something, you be respectful, deal with it later if you have to, and don't listen to this cancer that is beginning to grow about what this country is. And I remember in 1993, me and my dad were watching the news together, and we were watching the Task Force Ranger, the Black Hawk Down situation unfold in Somalia. And almost immediately, people were starting to, even then, start to spin the narrative about why we were even there. I mean, we were there because Somali refugees were getting their food and aid stolen from them by the warlords who ran the country. That's why we were there. We were there to free the oppressed, which is something that we often do. American soldiers are, as we've seen in just the last couple of weeks with babies coming over, fences, American soldiers, the guys with the flag on their right shoulder are the beacon of hope for everybody in this world. And watching that play out, at 8 years old, I was like, hey, this is something that I might want to do someday. I wasn't really a good student, not particularly smart, not really that great looking. So I didn't really know what I could do. But then, of course, I'm sitting there in second grade home economics class, on 9/11. They bring the TV in, 2 planes have hit the towers, then 1 hit the Pentagon. You remember that day. Maybe some of your audience is too young, but there were rumors everywhere. We didn't know what the hell was going to happen. Anything could have happened, Anything was on the table that day. So my old man picked me up and brought me home, and I listened to it on the radio. Everybody was angry. Everybody had a theory about what was happening. And our sense of security was utterly smashed, And I was just at the age where I could enlist. I told my dad the next day, hey, this is what I'm going to do. Of course, he was very proud of me. My mom, God rest her soul, I don't think she talked to me until like 2012. But, we went that next day. I'll never forget the guy in front of me. We struck up a conversation. He was already 40, older than I am right now, 20 years later. This guy made, $5-6 grand a month. He was a middle manager or a higher manager in a software firm. Everything in his life was perfect. He dropped it all to enlist in the military. That really just stuck with me, this guy is doing it when he doesn't have to do it. And people were chanting, the flags were everywhere. It's really hard to describe to somebody who wasn't alive during that time period. I'm so glad I was. So yeah, I signed, I think on the 26th of September of 2001. My dad was really proud. Like I said, my mom was really disappointed. And I went off to boot camp, and there it went. My recruiter didn't lie to me. He told me 2 things. You're going to go to war, and there's a good possibility that someone's going to get hurt that you really like and love, or you might get hurt yourself. So you better just get your stuff together right now, get in the gym. You're going to have to make deposits or withdrawals from your body that you never thought you could. And, you know, you're not in mom's basement anymore. This is the real world where people are trying to kill you. And he didn't lie, you know?
So 20 years ago, 9/11 is this pivotal moment that inspires you to make a huge change in your life. And now, 20 years later, you've made another life-changing decision to go back to college. So what was it like to make that decision that you wanted to go back to school? And how did you decide what you wanted to study?
Well, I'd already kind of been a computer guy, although it had nothing to do with what I did in the Army. And I was just in the infantry, just a basic ground pounder. When I got out, I thought maybe I would go to a law enforcement career. You know, the rates of pay were really low. I have some injuries that really preclude me from being out 8 hours a day. So I had gotten into the computer side of stuff, sort of digital crime scenes, securing evidence, finding, you know, anything from, you know, if your boyfriend's on a dating site to, you know, images that may not be there, want to be there, you know, whatever. And I noticed that the guys who were making the real big money, frankly, were guys who had master's degrees. So, you know, due to my status of being a disabled, war injured veteran, that afforded me free college, that afforded me free books, that afforded me 100% tuition, you know, something that is completely misunderstood in the veterans community. I mean, a lot of people say, hey, I went to go to school for free, and school's not free. School's free if you have a couple of things that you did. So hopefully we can clear that up at some point. But it was a hard decision and a really, frankly, an easy one. That's not the word I'm looking for, but I guess it was easy. I mean, it's free, it's there, they pay you to go, and you have to have that piece of paper. But also I kind of wanted to see people who begin indoctrinating kids, because all the bad ideas start on college campuses, in their natural habitat. That was a point there too, you know?
We know too well at Campus Reform that these fringe ideas do incubate on college campuses. So you make the shift from the military to higher education. What surprised you the most about going from the battlefield to the classroom?
I had always heard this, but I guess it was hard to see up close, is just how many professors were open Marxists and communists, and frankly, open about it to everybody there. I thought it was going to be sort of this like, you know, behind the curtain kind of thing that you only showed, you know, at night or whatever, you know, I mean, or to the people who agreed with you. But it was pretty open that, you know, and let's be honest, most of these teachers or professors, excuse me, are products of a generation of red diaper babies. I'm sure your audience won't even understand that term, but, you know, these are people who learned under, you know, communists who were true believers, you know. I was really shocked about that. I was really shocked about the type of person, you know, I'm the Billy Madison of my college, and I hope you guys get that reference. I mean, I'm the oldest guy there, you know, I'm all tattooed, you know, I mean, I stand out, you know. I didn't come, you know, my parents are not university professors or CEOs on State Street, you know, and that's apparent. I would say these kids come from homes where they look to those professors, and that is the only thing in the world, whatever they say, is the ideology that they're going to keep with them for the rest of their lives. And I'm just simply not built that way. In fact, I am usually the one who would want to be on the island and push back no matter what, because that's just my personality. So yeah, I guess, you know, in a nutshell, sort of a roundabout way of saying it, I was really shocked to see just the amount of obedience, worship, and the absolute generations and generations of completely ignorant human beings that were graduating.
You talk about this as a generational problem. So in your view, if you were made the president of a university tomorrow, what do you change? What needs to be done to fix this?
First thing I would do is I would take a very long look at who I was hiring. People with real life experience. I mean, the semester just began, and I look at my professors here, and they're a one size kind of fits all. They all come from the same university background. I have yet to meet a professor in all my community college time before this who was a war veteran, who had been overseas, who had maybe even took a cup of coffee in the Air Force, and at least they were in. I've never met one like that. A counselor, an academic advisor, a dean. I've never met one. In fact, I've never met one who didn't have really the same exact story as everybody else. They all come from the same ideology, the same way of life. Everything is an echo chamber, and I hate that term, but it is. There's no concept of anybody with a foreign idea. So yeah, if I was a university president tomorrow, frankly, I would take a long look at everybody who is in a position to influence a child's mind and make sure that their intentions are pure. I have a 7-year-old son. He's in 2nd grade. I tell both of his teachers, 1st and 2nd grade year, on the first day of school, teach my kid what's in the book, and that's it. Don't talk to him about your ideology, what you believe, what you think. It is completely irrelevant. All I've found on college campuses is nothing about a book and everything about what this teacher thinks. It's like a left-wing think tank every day, and we're graduating, like I said, generations upon generations of completely ignorant human beings, and we're paying the price for it right now.
And you mentioned being a non-traditional college student, that you are not the typical customer at most universities. So what should schools be doing better to support their veteran students?
Well, I think that coming in the door, they're great to you because your tuition is 100% paid by the government. So you're a guaranteed check for them. So they absolutely love you coming in the door. The student veteran organizations are okay. Particularly at my school, we just don't have enough population to really get many together. But, I would say, listen, there's people who come from different life experiences who could really add to the conversation if you just didn't shut it down. I feel like when I talk in class or when I give, I just did something yesterday where I talked in front of the class, and I felt like people needed a safe space. I felt like when I walk in the door, it's like it's an unwritten rule between everyone that, hey, the straight white male injured vet is here. Let's, I would, more education to professors, who just by their very ideology don't like you. That's just the absolute bottom line. And you can tell in the way they interact with you. You can tell in the grading scale. It's 100%. Over and over, that's been proven to me. The amount of breaks that they'll give you compared to someone else if you get things to do, like if you're a reserve soldier or something like that, which I spent a lot of time doing both. My nutshell advice would be there's a lot that somebody who's been around the world for nearly 20 years can add to the conversation. And God forbid somebody learns something outside of their, bubble, and use them as a resource. Hire more veteran professors. There's plenty of them. I have plenty of friends who have graduated on and could do a part-time job at a school, but they're not even looked at. It's not even thought of, there's a model for what professors should be. And I think that's, I think that's just so short-sighted.
That's an amazing perspective about what veterans bring to our college campuses. David McGrath, thank you for your continued service to our country and for answering 5 big questions.